Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. McCobb, and welcome back to my movie library. Today, thank you, Scream Factory. We now have a new 4K to talk about. Yeah, we have Clive Barker's Lord of Illusions on 4K finally, and overall, I'm very, very happy with this release. I know that a lot of people probably are not going to be very happy with it, but as for me, I think this one is a winner. That's just my opinion. Checked it out. It's like the picture quality on here is beautiful. This is easily the best this movie has ever looked. And I've watched this movie. I've watched it on VHS. I've watched it on DVD, Blu-ray. Now I got to see it on 4K. Just overall, just wow. Scream Factory really did a great job with this. The picture quality is stunning. There is grain in there in the picture quality. You could tell like at least not that I could see, there didn't seem to be kind of like DNR or any kind of like AI restoration or anything like that in the transfer. Um, the movie just, it's a very beautifully shot film. Um, you know, it's a great movie overall. I will say that while the physical effects done by you had Tommy C. Rainen doing the special effects. You had the Knicks special effects done by Steve Johnson, and you had special effects done by Kane B. So it's no surprise when you think about that. It's no surprise at all that that the physical effects and everything look gorgeous and still hold up to this day. And just Steve Johnson's effects on Knicks alone is just worth it and holds up beautifully. Um, can't say the same though for the visual effects. The visual effects, not so much. Some of the, um, one definite part is that you definitely notice that the visual effects definitely don't hold up. Is the scene where after the love scene between Dorothea and Harry D'Amour, when Swan manifests itself as like a spirit and everything, it almost has that kind of almost like I don't want to say Matrix style or anything like that, but yeah, you could definitely see that it's a visual effect, and it is a little bit easier to handle it though when it's not the crisp, clean look of a Blu-ray transfer, and it's more the with the HDR from the from the 4K transfer. It looks a teeny little bit more realistic, but still, it's very noticeable. But one thing you're going to notice about this is very, very slim, very streamlined. Not a lot about it. Okay, you see, it's only a 4K disc. My guess is probably because when Scream Factory is getting ready to do this, they probably no longer had the Blu-ray rights to this movie. Even though Scream Factory years back did, a 2-disc edition of this movie on Blu-ray. But I think that they no longer have the rights to it. It was Umbrella, I believe it was. Umbrella or Eureka? I want to say Umbrella. They put out a Blu-ray, so they may be the ones. Excuse me. And they may be the ones to have the rights to the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray is still, available. You can still go on Amazon and order the Scream Factory 2-disc Blu-ray. You can even get the Umbrella Blu-ray for it. So the Blu-ray is, readily available. It is easy to get. So, but yeah, this here, I think that that's the only reason why the Blu-ray was not included, was just because I think that Scream Factory just no longer had the rights to the Blu-ray anymore. So, but anyway, and one thing that I know a lot of people are definitely not going to like about this release is that you only get the director's cut on here. You don't get the theatrical cut, so I already know that they're going to be, I already see some of the media channels, that are going to review this. That's going to be the big, that's going to be the big problem with them, is that they're going to be mad because, the theatrical cut is not available on here. As for me, that doesn't bother me at all because, the director's cut is Clive Barker's definitive vision of the film. And so I'm not sad that the theatrical cut is not available. I understand some people they want it for preservation and stuff like that. Just to me, but I mean for me, it's like I'm never going to watch the theatrical cut. When I know that. See, the story goes back that way back when Clive Barker made the movie, that his whole deal was that he wanted to make a movie that was, that was kind of half and half. He wanted, a horror movie, but he also wanted a detective story. And so he, presented to the studio, but the problem was MGM wanted more or less just a straight up horror movie. They didn't, so they kind of forced his hand to, remove a lot of the footage that, basically had to do with like the detective scene. I think the only horror scene that I remember being removed was the montage of Nix's followers murdering their loved ones and family and everything, and going back to the house, I guess, where Nix was and everything. So I think that's the only thing that. But I think I do remember that a lot of it really had to do with more like the detective story aspect of it, and just kind of like get rid of a lot of that and just kind of keep a lot of the scary stuff. And to me, this movie it's ah damn, this is such a good movie. It really is. Revisiting it for I admit I haven't watched it in quite a while, and it was so nice to revisit it again. Just such a great film. Scott Bakula, Famke Janssen. There you go. That's enough reason alone to buy this 4K. Famke Janssen in 4K? Jesus Christ, you gotta be kidding me. My God, that woman is a stunner. Always was, always will be. But, you do get the bonus features on here, so at least there's that. You got the new 4K scan from the original camera negative of Clive Barker's director's cut, presented in Dolby Vision. You do get a new interview on here. Flesh as a Trap, scoring Lord of Illusions, interview with composer Simon Boswell, audio commentary with writer-director Clive Barker, drawing boards, interview with storyboard artist Martin Mercer, a gathering of magic, vintage featurette, original behind-the-scenes footage, deleted scenes with commentary by Clive Barker, photo gallery, a note from Clive Barker, and the trailer. So you do get bonus features on here, so at least there's that. But it's very, very, it's very standard, very basic. But just this movie does look amazing in 4K. I'm really blown away with it. But like I said, unfortunately, no reversible cover art. But there's your disc. Hopefully you can see that. You have the Master Audio 5.1 and the 2.0 surround. There's your sound. And, sometimes it's kind of hit or miss on some of these Scream Factory 4Ks. Sometimes I'm talking about in terms of, you don't have a surround sound system, you don't have a sound bar, and you're just having to go with just a speaker on your TV. Sometimes the sound can be, horrible, and you really have to crank up the volume so you can hear it. Sometimes, it sounds pretty good. You can just listen to it with the sound on your TV and you'd be fine. That's pretty much the case with this one. You could watch it and just listen to it with the sound on your TV. You'd be okay. Simon Boswell's audio score definitely comes into play. But, just overall, I'm very, very happy with this. It's such a good movie. And to have it on 4K, I'm very, very pleased with it. And now, probably got this, which probably means, like in 2 years or something like that, Arrow will probably turn around and get ready to do a 4K of this, because we already know they're going to do, they've done Hellraiser. We already know they're getting ready to put out Nightbreed on 4K here pretty soon. They did Candyman already. They did Cabal, or Nightbreed. Cabal is Nightbreed, numbnuts. We know that they're getting ready to do Nightbreed. They're getting ready to do Rawhead Rex. They're getting ready to do Underworld. They're getting ready to put those 3 out on 4K here in the very near future. At least they announced that's what they're going to do. So yeah, I'd be willing to bet you probably in a year or two, Arrow's probably going to put out their version of this, and that will probably be like a 2-disc that would have, the theatrical cut. So, if you want to wait for that, that's probably something to wait for. And in the meantime, just hold on to your 2-disc Blu-ray. But overall, yeah, I'm happy with this. I feel perfectly satisfied with it. Like I said, the picture quality is really, really good on here. Like some of the daytime scenes look very realistic. Um, you know, yeah, just some of the colors, like some of the colors, like on the suits and everything else, really pop. Um, like I said, the visual effects, yeah, some of the visual effects honestly don't hold up very well, but the practical effects hold up beautifully. It looks gorgeous. Um, so yeah, I'm not the least bit sad that I got this. Uh, I will say though that the guy at the record store, I went to go pick this up at the record store because I still had store credit. So ultimately, this cost me nothing. Um, I'll get to the price in a minute. So ultimately, this cost me nothing. The guy tried to slip me a copy that didn't have the slipcover, and so I went and checked, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, there is one with a slipcover. So made sure I got it. He was probably sitting there thinking like, what the hell? What do you care? I was like, well, it's like still, even though it's store credit, you know, I'm getting is, for the price, which there was $30.99. On Amazon right now, you can pick this up for $28.99, which that's not a bad deal considering it is a Scream Factory 4K. And that is something like I'm really, really hoping that, in the future, I felt something crawl up my leg. That is something in the future I am hoping that we can get to see is more and more we're going to see Scream Factory, kind of get there. I I think it's going to be kind of half and half, to be honest with you. I am impressed though that their Wallace and Gromit 4K is down to $22.99. I think that that's really amazing for a 4K, But I think it's going to be kind of half and half when it comes to Scream Factory. I guess just depending on the movie. Like Monkey Shines was $28.99. This was $28.99. I believe the Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 4Ks are going to be about $28.99 each. But yeah, still some of theirs are going to be at the $32.99 price range. But anyway, though, I'm really, really happy that I got this. A great Clive Barker movie. And, I am pleased to say that I got a lot of his movies on 4K now. I have Lord of Illusions. Happy about that. I got Hellraiser on 4K. I got Nightbreed on 4K. I got Rawhead Rex on 4K. I got Underworld on 4K. I got Candyman on 4K, both the original and the Jordan Peele version. So I'm very, very pleased with this. I'm sure, I was thinking about, would it be nice if they would do, Midnight Meat Train, a 4K of that. They might get around to something like that, but I think if they do get around to that, that's probably going to wind up being like a, Lionsgate Unlimited. You have to get off their website. So, because that seems to be kind of where Lionsgate is going altogether now. But honestly, yeah, you ask me, would I be satisfied with this and this alone? Actually, yes, I would be. I don't regret getting it. For the most part, like I said, the movie looks fantastic on 4K. It doesn't look like there was any kind of digital cleanup or any of that kind of stuff. It looks, it looks like it's preserving the look of the film. So I think everybody be satisfied with that. Like I said, if you want to get the 2-disc Blu-ray or you want to just stick with that for now, I would understand that. This being $28.99, I'm sure that there are probably going to be some people out there that are going to be like, why don't we wait? I'm going to wait on this. I want to wait and see if this goes down in price, which most likely it will. Over time, yeah, it'll probably drop down to maybe $25.99, $24.99, something like that. Or you wait and see if, at some point maybe Scream Factory will do a sale so you can get it for way cheaper too then. So, I mean, if you want to do that, that's your choice. But, if you ask me, is this worth it? Honestly, I say yeah. Just to have, just to sit there and say that, well, not just sit there and say that I have Clive Barker's, directorial movies on 4K, but, just it's worth it. The movie is worth it. It's a great movie. It's a great horror film, a great detective story. Watching it, I was actually kind of surprised, because Scott Bakula is so good in this movie, and it's kind of, I was thinking about, it's kind of weird that guy never broke out bigger as an actor. I mean, the man definitely, he's definitely a good actor. He definitely has a range as an actor and everything else. So, Famke Janssen, she's big star and everything. Daniel von Bargen, I thought did a great job as Swan, but may he rest in peace. I've always liked him. A lot of the movies I've seen him in, like this movie and Silence of the Lambs, even though he was only in for like a couple of minutes. It's one of the SWAT team guys. Super Troopers. He was great in Super Troopers. He was really good and very funny in that movie. But yeah, just a really good cast. Kevin J. O'Connor. But yeah, just overall, just I'm so happy with this. I really am. And of course, too, you'd be like, well, you said, with store credit, you ended up not paying anything out of pocket for. So yeah, you would be. So, yeah, I don't feel like anything was, but I don't feel like I wasted my store credit on it either. You know, I'm just really happy. I'm happy to get this. And so now it's time to get to that part of the video. We're going to put this bad boy in a nice protective case. And, I learned from last time. So just put the slipcover in first. We got this here. Goes right in there. I would say, yeah, it is kind of a little bit of a bummer that there is no like reversible cover art, but oh well. If they're going to start, having like 4Ks at cheaper prices, I guess it's going to have to make sense that like certain things will go, But there we go, and yeah, here we are. We have Lord of Illusions on 4K. I'm very, very pleased with it. Like, if you ask me, do I recommend it? Honestly, yeah, I would. Great movie, great transfer, everything. You got the bonus features on there. I know that for some people, not having the Blu-ray is going to be a bit of a problem. I know, like, for example, my friend Rob, he, we were messaging one day, and he was talking about, like, he only had, like, one 4K player in his house. And for me, it's not a problem, because I have two 4K players. I have one in my living room. I have one in my bedroom, so it's like, yeah, so having it just on the 4K disc doesn't really bother me. And I've said it before, I think that this is something that we really need to start getting used to, because I think we're going to definitely start seeing more of this. We're already seeing it with Paramount, we're seeing it with Warner Brothers, where, they're putting stuff out on 4K and just not having a Blu-ray to go with it. Arrow, they're doing, I think Jason, they just did Jason X and Jason Goes to Hell. I don't think either of those got a Blu-ray, because I think Scream Factory still has the Blu-ray rights to those, I think. But, and same thing, the remake. I don't think they did a Blu-ray of the remake either. But, so I think we are, I know that we're heading into that era, though, of now it's coming to the point where it's like, because this happened, decades back with Blu-ray. When Blu-ray first came out, the Blu-ray always came with a DVD copy for a while. And then as time went on, eventually, Blu-rays would just, be released with just the Blu-ray disc. And, hardly any companies even do Blu-ray DVD combos anymore. I know Universal still does them from time to time, but, yeah, I think so. I think so. I think that's what we're going to see, though. So, but yeah, I would say, I feel, at least for myself, I feel like, I'm kind of, future proofed, because I have at least two 4K players. So I need to pick another one up down the road so I have a backup just in case. You never know. But yeah, I would say, yeah, if you want to go ahead and pick it up, I would say go ahead and do that. If you feel like, you don't feel like it's worth it at this point, want to wait and see if there's a sale, or, if they drop the price, I would totally understand that. But as for me, I'm very, very happy with it. I think it looks great, yeah. I know I'm repeating myself at this point. It's time for me to get ready to sign off. But yeah, Lord of Illusions on 4K. Thank you, Scream Factory. I'm really, really happy with it. And it was nice to revisit the movie again. Such a great movie. And one last thing before you go. Yeah, got this in today. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Got the Creep Tapes Season 1. So I really like the Creep movies. Creep 1 and 2 were great. I can't wait to check this out. Mark Duplass back in action. Him and Patrick Bryce. They've done the films and everything. So at least it's nice to see that the people that did the movies are the ones controlling the series. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure like how many episodes or how long it's gonna. How long the episodes are. I know it says here it's 151 minutes, so that's 2.5 hours long. So I guess we'll see, though, won't we? But yeah, I am looking forward to this, So really, really happy. This here you can get for a great deal on Amazon. It's only $11.99. That's dirt cheap. For something like that. That's why I say, it's like they could do this. Companies could do this if they wanted to. I don't know so much about boutique companies, but like some of the, I mean, come on, man, some of the, lesser studios or studios or whatever, they could do this. If they wanted to, they could just, if you're gonna, if you're getting like they want to get, they're sick and tired, they want to get rid of a format because they don't want to keep doing 3 formats. So how about just go for like, Blu-ray and 4K, and Blu-ray's been around long enough. So even if you don't have the DVD, you could get the Blu-ray, you could sell the Blu-ray for the same price you would sell for the DVD, because like I said, this is $11.99, that's about what, you would have to pay for the DVD anyway, but I don't know, that's just my thought, But I would say, yeah, just do it that way. Just do it Blu-ray and 4K, And you say, well, what about the people who, buy DVD and stuff like that? Well, I'm willing to bet, though, that probably a lot of them have converted, even though most of the time they always buy DVDs. Chances are pretty good they own Blu-ray players because over the years, many, many movies have come out that, and TV shows, movies and TV shows have come out that did not get a DVD release, and they try to buy from, they get a movie or something they really want from one of the boutique companies, and the Blu-ray is all there is, so they want the movie, but there's no DVD available, so they got to get, the Blu-ray. So I imagine, I don't think it's going to be that big of a thing. I think they're, a lot of the times it's mostly having to boil down to the cost. And like I said, I mean, if you can get the price of the Blu-rays down to the DVD price, and you get the price of the 4Ks down to the Blu-ray price and everything else, that's just my opinion. I know, but anyway, so yeah, I can't wait to check this bad boy out. And so looking forward to this. This is going to be fun. And here we go. I guess we'll wait and see what the future holds. I'm sure that there will be that may be another thing too. You may be like, well, I don't really want to jump on that right now, because I want to see if here in like 6 months or so, they're going to do the Steelbook. So that may be something too. But overall, yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm satisfied. And if this is all there's going to be, I'm fine with it. But like I said, yeah, probably like 2 years down the road or something like that, I'm sure that Arrow will get the rights to this movie, and then they'll put out a 4K of it for overseas. So, but anyway, so that's it. So I'm very happy. I'm happy with what I got. So if anybody took the time to watch all this, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, would you please leave it a like? And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Like they always say, ring the notification bell, all that fun stuff. So that's it. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Talk to y'all later.